Peace, peace, all is well. Top of the rainbow, you all. This is your host, LaQueer, host of Topics of Cancer. We're talking about queer topics all the queer time. Why? Because we need to give you the bird's eye view of the world from a Cancerian perspective as it should be. So let it go. Let's talk about communication in relationships. Let's talk about the elephant in the room and the simple fact that in relationships, that's the only thing that we're searching for. Let's talk about the fact that we communicate in the same language, but in different parts of the world. I know you're wondering, what the heck are you talking about, queer? Let's bring it this way in perspective. There can be things, and we're going to call them triggers because that seems to be so relevant in today's society, where, let's say, you've been in relationships with partners who, whenever you try to be open with them, be honest, and they would inherently shut you off, try to quiet and silence you. And it happens so many times to the point where you no longer say or speak how you feel because of the fear, false evidence appearing real. Turns out that whenever I say things or I speak up or I try to produce a conversation to get an understanding, a better understanding, because you got to understand this. When we ask questions, as inquisitive as it may seem, the general thing is we just want to know. And even as I speak of this, I even think and go back because in the back of my mind, it's saying, well, no, sometimes people ask questions because they want to know something or they hiding something. No, what I've learned that is just an ingrained trait that has been um, vehemently uh, installed or instilled in our psyche, within ourselves, in our conditioning as growing up, that to never ask questions. Even as a child, you learned if you ask a question out of your curiosity, that's a better word, not inquisitiveness, but out of your curiosity, you were either shut down or because they didn't know the answer or didn't want to know the answer, it was shut down, not answered, or covered with um, were covered with hate and anger. Because in the simple fact, what I truly believe what goes through an individual's mind for the person that's being questioned is, I don't know the answer, or I know the answer, I don't want to tell you because it will show my true colors, who I am, and any falseness that I presented. I truly believe that the majority and the reason why most couples suffocate in that spectrum of relationships is because, again, we learned that asking questions will not give you a response. And that's quite sad. I've always been the type of child, the type of person who wanted to understand, regardless of what the answer may be, even if I was curious to know. Because there are times when you're just genuinely curious, and then there's times when stuff don't add up, and you want to make sure that you're not accusing or being accusatory towards what's being questioned. I truly believe that as couples, we can come more together by learning that sometimes the residue of our exes still lingers within our psyche. Sometimes we can be so traumatized and not even know it from what someone said or what someone done because we're too afraid to enter back into that deep darkness of hurt that we've been before. It's times when we rather suffer within our own self than suffer a little while and have peace within understanding. I'm saying all this to you because in my past relationships, as I'm speaking to you, 3:23 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, Central Standard Time. I just woke up and I said, that's that's what it is. We don't know that we are orchestrating in the residue of our exes. And I had a piece of paper, wrote it down and stuff like that, and what I was going to speak about and talk about how we are on this journey. Everyone's on a journey, whether you like it or not. And it's not a fad or what you see on all social media platforms, but there's journeys that we go through life and as being human beings where we are going to reach and explore different parts of us that we did not know that was there. Because as we grow up from children to adults, we enter into different spectrums as we branch out from our family, from our loved ones, from those that knew us as we were children. We tend to find out that some of the things that we uh, were cast out of, some of the things that we were trying to get to know and understand, it comes to that, like finding out about Santa Claus or the Easter Bunny or the leprechauns. You find out that it's all fake, that it's all a story, that it's all make believe, it's not real. It was just a filler. And then when you come to an adult, you have to come to the understanding and the realization that everything was a lie. And that hurts because now what is it? If it's not me, it's you. If it's not you, it's me. So when we are faced with that and there's no answers, we tend to defend ourselves or protect ourselves by not stating the obvious. I know it sounds like I'm rambling on, but you have to really think about that. Really think about the reason you're reacting the way that you do. Is it truly something that's that serious for the reaction that you're giving? Or do you take the time out to actually say, you know what? I'm going to answer this question. I don't know this question. Or if I ask this question, it's going to uncover who it is that I really am. And I don't like who I am. To keep a facade that everything is A-okay and everything's cool. I truly believe that if we as human beings, and mainly as couples, and we're not going to too much talk about family because that's a slippery slope, but we're going to focus on the aspect of in relationships and being with couples. And what I've come to understand throughout my 42 years of living, I have a grandmother who's 98 years old, and I have parents who've been married for 50 something plus years. So my experience comes from my surroundings, and my surroundings come from my experience. And what I've learned and understand is that most people do not like themselves because they don't know who they are. Or most people shown who they are, people didn't like it because they didn't like themselves or didn't understand it. And the reason always goes back to your conditioning and how you grew up and your environment. And that's why I truly believe it's so detrimental to understand people background and their history and their family life, because that's what orchestrates within their thinking, within their psyche. That's what develops. That's how they communicate. You can be in a family, and this is evident, and I know there's many of us out there. There's many of you out there who you grew up in a family where it was, hip hop parade every day. However, you removed yourself, whether it was in college, whether it was because you wanted to venture out on your own, you found out different parts of the world and that there's other things to do. And then when you come back home, you look at yourself, you look at your family, and you say, there's more to this than what's really being seen. And most people don't like that because they don't want to change. They don't want to be in the same area of where you're at. They don't want to grow. But I'm here to speak to those couples out there who are struggling with communication, with hearing and listening out to your partner. Just know and understand that there is a person out there who's willing to take the time to listen and understand and know that they are really who it is that they say that they are. They're really trying to gain an understanding. They're really trying to gain knowledge. They're really trying to gain a connection. And not just to throw you off, not just to win you over. And I'm speaking from my own self because I've been in so many relationships time and time again where I've always been my genuine true self. But however, I lost myself within myself throughout those times because every time I did something, I would question myself and say, am I wrong? And that's abuse in its own sense. Not even knowing that, but that's abuse within its own sense because I'm starting to question myself and if I'm right or wrong when all I want to know is the Easter Bunny real? It's just a general question, and I'm just using that as a clear understanding. And then the majority of the time, it's because we can go into the whole facet of feelings and that's a whole nother thing. It's if a person is 100% in tune with their feelings and their emotions, I truly believe that it's nothing that you can say or do. And that if it is something that hurts them, allowing that person to progress and to filter out and to be able to handle it and even speak and coach them through it just to be supportive for them while they're there will begin the next level of communication. Because at the end, all we're looking for is safety. All we're looking for is being able to know that if I have a question and I don't understand, that it's okay. That if I have feelings or if I have emotions or if it's just something that does not sit right and well in my body, which you have to understand, we were given that. We were given that understanding to feel that to sense danger, just like an animal. If prey is around, they sense it. And what do? They react. They protect. They take precautionary measures. So, what is your precautionary measure? What is your strategy? What is your defense mechanism? And the thing about that is it's okay to have a defense mechanism only if it's protecting you from harm. However, I truly believe that there's sometimes we've been so victimized and we've been so wrong that we don't even know the difference between protection and harm. That we take everything as a threat. That sometimes a traumatic experience does not have to deal with a near death experience. And in a sense, that if you want to take it that way, it can be a near death experience of who you are yourself, that you almost lost who you genuinely are in the hands of someone who didn't care to know who you were or are, in the hands of someone who didn't even know themselves, that they rather run from themselves than actually understand and know. And that's what I truly believe. is that there's people who are so afraid of the unknown, so afraid of just being able to have a clear conscious understanding because of past traumas, because of their environment, because of being victimized, because of how they grew up, because of what they said, because basically in our DNA, which is passed down from generation to generation, nobody asks a question because nobody knows the answer. Well, I tell you today, be that one to ask that question. Be that one to consistently do it. And even after time that you do it, I say to you, continuously do it. Do not lose who you are. Do not lose your understanding. If you're a lover, be a lover. If you're emotional, be emotional. Because your voice matters. It's not a lot of us out there. If you look at how the world is going today, everyone is so consumed with hate and envy and just saying how it is that they feel and believing that is right. But what I see is a dead cell, a person that's dying inside because the only way out is to be evil. The only way out is to be defensive. The only way out is to put down somebody else to make you feel better. I'm just here to let you know that not everybody is out there to get you. I'm here to let that person know that's listening to you, that's listening, that it's nothing wrong with questioning your feelings, your emotions to gain an understanding so that you can heal, so that you can be better, so that you can move on, so that you can have the peace and the rest that you so deserve. Because let me tell you this, if a person who never wants to answer questions and they consider themselves to be real, they consider themselves to be, whatever the world wants to call them, ask yourself this: why are they always upset? Why are they always on edge? A person who is 100% confident in what they're asking and where they're going and speaking their own truth, they don't even have to have peace or anything like that because they are more focused on understanding that love, guidance, and understanding within themselves is the only thing that matters. I just had to get that out and say that today here because I really want to just press this to you all in order for your relationships to work. And I'm specifically talking on romantic relationships because we need that. We need to have that understanding that every question does not have to lead to a fight. We are to come together to have an understanding, to grow with one another. Know that there is love out there, that there is peace, that there is serenity. And yes, you can have it within yourself, but it's also good to share it with another person. I am your host, LaQueer. This has been Topics of Cancer, the queer perspective, where I talk about queer topics all the queer time. Why? Because we need to give you the bird's eye view of the world from the Cancerian perspective as it should be. So let it go and let God. Until next time, be true, be you. All is well.